I press play on the sleep tracker app. The quiet hum of the room is suddenly broken by two distinct, hushed voices. They are too close, too clear, whispering just beyond my ear. My fingers instinctively tighten around a brass key in my pocket. Its familiar weight, now a cold comfort. I pull the phone closer, tilting it to catch the dim light from the window. The voices continue, a low murmur I cannot quite understand, but the tone feels wrong. A thin, fresh hairline scratch runs across the phone screen, a jagged line I know was not there before. I trace it with my thumb, feeling the slight ridge. The voices seem to pause, almost as if listening to my movement. I hesitate, almost stopping the playback, but a strange pull keeps my finger away from the button. The air in the room feels heavier, pressing down. I shift my weight on the bed, the mattress creaking softly. The key in my pocket feels sharper against my leg. The whispers resume, a little louder this time, and I notice a faint, metallic tang in the air. I press play on the small recorder, the plastic warm beneath my thumb. The brass key, still tucked into my pocket, feels oddly cold against my thigh. Last night's recording begins, a low hiss at first, then the indistinct murmur starts. It's clearer this time, the voices a soft, swirling current of sound. I lean closer to the speaker, trying to catch a full word. There's a repeated syllable, a soft, drawn-out ka. It feels like a breath, almost a sigh. My gaze drifts to the bedside table. The heavy hardback I left there is gone. My hand goes to the empty space, confirming it. Then I see it, on the floor beside the bed, spine bent at an unnatural angle. I reach down, my fingers brushing the cool cover. The crack in the spine groans as I lift it. This wasn't here. This wasn't right. I adjust my grip on the book, a small hesitation. The murmuring on the recorder seems to swell, a low tide of sound filling the small room. I try to focus on the recording again, but the repeated ka now feels like it's coming from inside the book I hold. I shift my grip, a small tremor running through my arm. The air feels heavier, a subtle pressure against my ears. I take a step back, bumping the edge of the bed frame. The sound from the recorder suddenly cuts out, replaced by a sharp, dry click. I flinch, nearly dropping the book. The silence that follows is thick, almost painful. My fingers trace the deep crack on the book's spine. It feels warmer now. I replay the audio file again, the static crackling softly. A whisper emerges, clearer this time. Almost a phrase he didn't follow. It ends abruptly. A prickle of unease runs down my arm, right over the faint bruise blooming there. I adjust my headphones, trying to catch more. The brass key in my pocket feels impossibly heavy, pulling at the fabric, a constant weight. Later, I walk past Mark in the hall. He usually hums, but today he stands still, facing the wall. As I approach, he turns slowly. His eyes are rolled back, showing only white, and a wide, unnatural smile stretches his lips. "Some things are better left unheard, TVERO," he says, his voice flat, monotone. "There are rules." He blinks, the smile vanishes, and his eyes return to normal. "Rough day, huh?" he asks, then walks away whistling. I hesitate, my hand going to the key in my pocket, feeling its cold metal. The air around me feels colder now, even indoors. I try to dismiss Mark's words, but the phrase from the recording echoes. I check the audio device, noticing a new, faint hum coming from its casing. It wasn't there before. I tap the device, a small mistake, hoping to stop the sound. Instead, the hum grows louder, a low thrumming that vibrates through my fingertips. The key in my pocket seems to vibrate with it, a dull ache spreading from my hip. I pull my sleeve up, examining the bruise on my forearm. It looks a shade darker, almost pulsing. I shouldn't have listened. The voices on the tracker app are agitated this morning, a sharp, whispering urgency that scrapes at the edges of my hearing. I reach for my coffee, but my fingers feel clumsy, unresponsive. The mug slips from my grasp, shattering on the floor with a loud, jarring crack. Hot liquid splashes against my work pants. The brass key against my thigh vibrates, a low, insistent hum that mirrors the tension building in my skull. I hesitate, looking at the broken ceramic shards, then step carefully around them. The app's whispers grow louder, almost forming words, but they twist away before I can grasp them. A cold draft sweeps through the room, though the window is closed. I shiver, pulling my jacket tighter. My hand brushes the small, raised scar on my forearm, a faint reminder of the last time I ignored a similar warning. The air thickens, feeling heavy, like static electricity before a storm. I try to dismiss the feeling, reaching for the broom, but my hand trembles. A low thrumming starts in the floorboards beneath my feet, a new vibration joining the key's hum. The light from the ceiling fixture flickers, once, then twice, casting long, dancing shadows. I pause, my gaze fixed on the shifting light. The voices on the app suddenly cut out, leaving a profound, unsettling silence. My breath catches. The brass key, now warm against my skin, begins to vibrate with a stronger, more urgent rhythm. Something has changed. The silence feels like a new rule. The recorded voices whisper again, a dry rustle in the air. The light must be extinguished at precisely 11. My hand twitches, a strange pull urging me towards the lamp on the far wall. I glance at the clock. It reads 10:58. A cold dread settles, familiar and heavy. I step forward, my boots scuffing the worn linoleum. Across the room, Ilara looks up from her terminal. Her eyes roll back, a slow, unnatural movement, revealing only white. A wide, unsettling smile stretches her lips. "The key always knows," she murmurs, her voice flat and distant. Then her eyes snap back to normal, the smile gone, and she returns to typing. I hesitate, a small shiver running down my spine. The brass key in my pocket suddenly grows searing hot against my thigh. It burns through the fabric, forcing a sharp gasp from my throat. I fumble, pulling the key out quickly. It glows faintly red in my palm, leaving a distinct, angry mark on my skin. I drop it onto the desk beside me. Where it lands, a small, dark burn mark instantly appears on the polished wood, a fresh scar beside the older, faded ones. The air around the key shimmers. I reach for the lamp switch, my fingers trembling slightly. The clock ticks past 10:59. I press the switch down, plunging the room into near darkness. The key on the desk cools, its faint glow fading. The burn mark on my hand throbs. I can still hear the faint, dry rustle of the voices, now softer, almost satisfied. The task is done, for now, but the key still lies there, waiting. I leave the kitchen light on past 11. The soft hum of the bulb feels like a challenge, a deliberate break from the usual routine. From the small tracker device on the counter, the recorded voices begin to rise, a furious, almost audible scream now. I feel the brass key in my hand, its edges impossibly sharp. It digs into my palm, then pricks my index finger. A thin line of blood wells up, a direct and painful consequence. I watch the red bead form, a small, pulsing point against my skin. The key feels heavier, colder, as if absorbing the heat from the cut. The light flickers once, a quick blink, that makes the shadows jump across the linoleum floor. The voices from the tracker intensify, a high-pitched whine joining the screams. I shift my weight, a slight hesitation before reaching for the light switch. My fingers brush the cool plastic, but I don't press it yet. The brass key in my hand vibrates faintly, a low thrumming against my palm. I notice a faint metallic smell in the air, something like ozone mixed with old copper. It wasn't there a moment ago. I press my thumb against the fresh cut, a small, pointless gesture that only smears the blood. The light flickers again, longer this time, threatening to go out completely. I pull my hand back from the switch, a small mistake, a moment of doubt. The key feels like it's trying to twist itself, pulling against my grip. The voices from the tracker become a single, piercing shriek echoing in the quiet room. I have to turn it off. I'm wiping down the counter, a dull chore I perform every morning. My hand brushes against my pocket, and the brass key inside begins to hum. It's a low vibration, a steady thrum against my thigh. I ignore it, reaching for the drying rack. My favorite mug, the chipped one with the blue stripe, sits perfectly centered on the rack. I remember placing it in the cupboard last night, tucked behind the others. This isn't right. A faint static hum fills the air, barely audible, like distant radio interference. It seems to rise when I pause. When I consider leaving the mug where it is, I pick it up, feeling its familiar weight. The hum lessens slightly. I hesitate, my gaze drifting towards the window. A thought flickers. What if I just left it? The static hum intensifies, a soft, insistent pressure behind my ears. The key in my pocket vibrates harder, a sharp, almost painful buzz. I almost drop the mug. My fingers tighten around the ceramic. I walk to the cupboard, opening it slowly. The shelves are neat, everything in its place. I slide the mug onto its designated hook. The hum fades, leaving only the quiet drone of the refrigerator. My palm still tingles from the key's vibration. I notice a faint, new scratch on the key, a tiny line I hadn't seen before. I am already walking, the familiar rhythm of my steps a dull comfort. A sudden, piercing headache strikes when I consider turning left instead of right, a sharp jolt behind my eyes. The brass key in my pocket feels incredibly heavy, a dead weight pulling at the fabric. I reach in, my fingers brushing against its cold, smooth surface. It feels colder than before. A thin trickle of blood runs from my nose, warm and metallic, a stark line down my lip. I wipe it with the back of my hand, the movement causing a faint throb in the old scar on my wrist. My steps falter for a moment, almost tripping on a loose paving stone near the curb. The headache sharpens, a pressure building behind my eyes, forcing my gaze straight ahead. The buildings along the street seem to subtly shift, their brick facades leaning inward, just slightly, as if watching me. A low, persistent hum begins, vibrating up through the soles of my shoes, a frequency I can feel more than hear. I adjust my pace, trying to walk through the growing resistance, each step a struggle against unseen currents. My shoulder aches from the effort. The key grows colder still, almost burning through the thin cloth of my pocket. I hesitate, my hand tightening around it. I reach the usual corner, the path already decided for me. The headache eases, a sudden release of pressure, but the hum persists, a constant, low thrumming in the air. I take the turn, the only option, the street ahead stretching out, unchanged. The voices press in, a low, endless stream of words pushing at the edges of my hearing. I pull my hand from my pocket, the brass key warm and heavy against my palm. My skin feels clammy, and the faint red lines on my left wrist seem to deepen, tracing a familiar pattern. This pattern, I realize, is the same one I've been catching in the corner of my eye. Now, It shimmers faintly on the worn floorboards ahead, almost glowing with a soft internal light. I hesitate, my foot hovering over a dark knot in the wood that seems to pulse with the pattern. The voices sharpen, a sudden, insistent whisper to proceed. I take a shallow breath, my chest tight, a slight tremor running through my arm. A low thrumming vibrates through the floor, matching the pulse on my wrist, a deep resonance against my bones. I step forward, the brass key still clutched, its weight a constant reminder of the system's reach. The pattern on the floor brightens, stretching towards a closed door I hadn't noticed before, its dark, unpainted surface now etched with the same glowing lines. I reach for the doorknob, my fingers brushing against the cold, smooth metal, feeling a faint static charge prickle my skin. The voices settle back into their low hum, a new instruction forming in the quiet space between my thoughts. I turn the knob, the mechanism clicking softly. I push the heavy door open. Stepping over the threshold, the voices, which had been screaming, "Do not step outside," erupt into a deafening shriek behind me. Then, abruptly, silence. The brass key in my pocket becomes searing hot, burning through the fabric of my uniform. Then, instantly cold, leaving a deep, permanent, star-shaped burn scar on my thigh. I touch the cool metal of the door frame, steadying myself. The silence that follows is absolute, an empty void where the noise once was. It feels wrong. A figure stands at the end of the hall, too close. It's Miller. His eyes are rolled back, showing only white, and an unnatural smile stretches his lips. He doesn't move. The quiet demands a different kind of listening. He whispers, his voice flat. Don't mistake its absence for peace. His eyes snap back to normal, the smile gone, and he turns, walking away as if nothing happened. I hesitate, my hands still on the doorframe. The air feels thick, pressing in. I adjust the strap of my pack, the fabric rasping against my ear in the sudden, overwhelming quiet. My scar throbs faintly, a dull ache beneath the uniform. I take a step forward, my boot scuffing the polished floor, the sound unnaturally loud. I glance back at the open door, a mistake. The hallway behind me is now dark, the light from my apartment gone. I turn quickly, facing the empty hall where Miller was. The silence deepens, pulling at the edges of my hearing.